Man, what's happening, fam? L.A.R movement still moving. The book is entitled Lessons from a Non-Custodial Father. Amazon Kindle Create Space. Link will be in the description box below. Um, we're just gonna have to get into this. She wasn't taught to love you, you know, and unfortunately, other women have to pay for this. But we're gonna get into it. You see, when you're out here trying to find your way into relationships, you brothers gotta consider the fact that she wasn't taught to actually be your partner. And tell you why I say this. She wasn't taught that she has to express her love, care, and affection towards you. That's the first problem. So while she was taught everything that a man needs to do to get a woman's love and attention and affection, she wasn't taught that she has to do the same. And I'm not talking about, he initiates and she reciprocates. I'm talking about no, she wasn't taught to do it at all. So for a lot of women, it's not in them to do it freely of their own free choice and free will. Because she wasn't taught that it, not only is it a good thing, but you know, it begins to make the relationship go back and forth. Um, she wasn't taught to respect your struggle. You know, young boys are taught chivalry. All the rules and regulations to dealing with little girls and young ladies and young women and women. Like, we're taught the manners and the protocol. Never hit a young lady. Um, don't be mean. Be nice to her. Be sweet to her. She has sensitive feelings. You know what I'm saying? Don't ever ask a lady her real age. Stuff like that. You know, some of the things that Uncle Ron Wills talks about was, stay closer to the curb. You be to the curb and she's on the sidewalk. That's that type of stuff. But when we were taught all of that chivalry and protocol, um, to some degree, you could say because some of the men aren't around, or that they weren't taught they weren't told or showed what they're supposed to do. And even if the men were around, they were taught to shortchange the men so you don't have to do it. You know, it's a constant. He has to constantly prove himself as worthy, and you constantly just take as if you are worthy to be spoiled with 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 no recourse. Like, doesn't matter. She wasn't taught to love you. She wasn't taught to be accountable to you or be responsible to you or be responsible for your heart. She wasn't taught that. She was told that you're a man, and as a man, you have no feelings. You have no heart. You'll get over it. Um, you just have to take all the losses, and it'll make you a better man to to turn her chicken shit into chicken soup. That's your goal. That's your place in society. So you became a utility because she was taught that you was a utility. So once again, it's like, this is not a good deal. This is not a good deal. You know, she was taught that you marry her, you get in a relationship with her, and you produce children together, and she does whatever she needs to do as a mother to take care of the children. But once again, She was taught that your needs don't matter. She wasn't taught to love you. You know, she wasn't taught to learn you, to learn the things that you liked, to to participate in the things that men like, not in a way of just invading men's spaces to be nosy, to look for an angle to get over on men, but to actually be involved in his interests. You know, she wasn't taught um, to actually support his dreams and ambitions and his drive. She was taught to niche out her space for when that opportunity comes, that you can benefit off of the dreams and aspirations and the opportunities if it's a dream fulfilled. And she was taught to not actually put all of her eggs into one basket with you. That way, if you fail, she wasn't really connected to you, you know. So she wasn't really taught to be ride or die, as they say. She wasn't taught to be down. She was taught to be opportunistic. Along with that, she was taught to choose multiple men for multiple different things. So she wasn't taught to be um, put all her cards on the table and be real with one particular person. She was taught to put a couple of cards here, a couple of cards there, a couple of cards here, a couple of cards there, you know, and play each hand out. And keep the game going with the other people if you spend more time at somebody else's table. So there is no love in that situation. She wasn't taught to. She was taught to just manipulate the situation. Um, Also, she wasn't taught, you know, she was also taught that these opportunistic things are fair. You know, when she does them, it's just what it is. She was taught that it was unfair to treat her in the same manner. So she wasn't taught that you reap what you sow. She wasn't taught that the energy you put out into the world will come back at you. She wasn't taught karma. So she wasn't taught how to deal with that or to even expect it. That's why I say she wasn't taught to love you. She wasn't taught that she has to impress you. That's why you see these young ladies um, making all these moves to impress other women. You know, they're in competition with other women. Not necessarily for men, because she wasn't taught that a man was the prize. She was taught that she was a prize and a group of men will compete for her. But she was never taught that, at a certain point, the cream of the crop of men will rise to the top, and these women will wind up competing for those men. She wasn't taught the, the balance and counterbalance of that situation. So she wasn't taught to love you. She wasn't taught to do the things that can separate her from the pack of women when she has to compete. She was just taught that she just had to show up. That's why I said she wasn't taught to love you. You know, she wasn't taught to love, like for brothers, she wasn't taught to love and respect you as a black man. She was taught to love and respect non-black men. So that's why when you do something, it doesn't count as much as when somebody who's not black does something. You know, you can't be um, nerdy. Somebody else can be nerdy. You can't be just a faithful, honorable man and get love for that. Somebody else has to be that. Somebody else can be that. You can't be, you can even be a quote unquote builder, but you still might not be as good as somebody who's not a builder, but just in a different community. So you got to understand that she wasn't taught to love you like that, you know. And sometimes you got to understand that after the fact, she'll realize she wasn't taught to love you after you were gone. And she'll realize that she might love you after you're gone. So that's part of the game. We out.